Thank you for joining Microsoft and Nihilent today. We're here to talk about omnichannel analytics and AI and how that can be used for retail and how you can use all of these insights to innovate and stay ahead of your competition. My name is Chaitanya. I'm from Nihilent, and I've got Austin here from Microsoft with me. And we're going to talk a little bit about how Microsoft sees the retail industry evolving and the future of analytics in retail. And then I'll talk a little bit about our omnichannel solution and how we utilize the solution to bring analytics for you so you can make the most of the data that you already have. So, Austin, I'll hand it over to you for your intro.
Thank you, Chaitanya, or like I call you, CK. Is that okay?
That's okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for the time. Again, my name is Austin Coleman. I am a data platform solution lead focusing on our retail CPG business. And I want to talk a little bit as we're moving into our conversation today about just kind of how we view retail and some of the things that are happening as we're positioning the additional conversation later today on omnichannel. I think one of the things that's important that we all level set is that the retail industry is under the same kind of revolutionary pressure that all industries are under. I think, as we are all aware, we're in a fourth industrial revolution right now, this digital revolution. Retailers are not immune to that. They're finding themselves under the same pressures as manufacturing companies, as service companies, media, printing companies. And so at Microsoft, we're really working to help all these companies digitally transform their businesses. One of the things we talk about is the embrace and how we embrace this disruption through, I'll just say, four major pillars. The first is engaging your customers. How do you provide personal, relevant service across all touch points? How do you empower your employees? If we look at what's happening with the millennial generation and then the next generation after that, how do you deliver differentiated services and maximize your growth with some of the pressures we're finding with the employee base today? How do you optimize your operations, to build an agile, insight-driven organization? And then how do you transform your products and services, right, to create new ways to deliver value to your customers? One of the areas that we're going to talk about today with the Nihilent people are engaging your customers. Engaging your customers, we're talking about five, high-level themes around predicting what your customers may want, bridging the gap between the in-store and the digital experience. And if you think about what's happening there in particular, is pretty interesting. Customers are looking not only to get things delivered at home, but with speed. So it used to be I could wait 2 weeks to get something. I could go into a store, order it, and feel good getting it in 2 weeks. Then it's like, hey, I want it next day or second day. It's soon going to be, if I order something at 1 o'clock, I expect to have it before 3. So if you think about that bridging the gap, that kind of customer requirement is coming. You might not think it's needed, but it's coming.
And I think we're seeing more and more people gravitate towards more online shopping instead of the traditional way that used to happen where you went to a store, looked for something, bought something, and then went home. It seems like today stores have a larger online storefront than an actual brick and mortar storefront. I think that's the trend we're seeing in general, where warehouses are getting bigger, stores are getting smaller. So I think there's a definite shift that we're seeing from in-store to digital and online.
Yep, I see that too. We need to deliver meaningful engagements across all touch points. To your point, my in-store experience needs to be as good as my online experience.
Absolutely.
My online experience on my computer has to be as good as my online experience on my phone, right? And so you as a retailer need to know who I am across all those touch points, right? And then we have to optimize interactions through social and digital channels. When you think about what's happening with the social channel, how people are using social media to talk about things they like and don't like, potentially share things with friends. Our ability to now push and provide offers at those points are also very important. And those aren't things that we necessarily thought about, 2, 3, 4 years ago. And so now, if that's not part of your strategy and you don't have a plan, you might find yourself behind. A company's ability to align to those type of influencers and make sure that they're influencing those influencers
Right.
is a huge strategy that you have to think about today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And then you have to capitalize on artificial intelligence. The move to AI and allowing artificial intelligence to drive a lot of the things that are happening, not only on the predict side, but also on interaction, are very important in engaging customers. And again, if we're not thinking about those strategies, we may find ourselves behind our competitors.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to let you talk a little bit about delivering the meaningful engagement
Sure.
and how that looks from your solution.
So thanks, Austin. So to that end, what we've looked at is how do you combine information from all of these channels into a single spot. So think of it more of a repository for all the data that comes through that you can analyze, apply any sort of machine learning, artificial intelligence to. And that's how our solution was born. So we're calling it Omnichannel Marketing Analytics. A brief introduction would be, when you look at the bottom of the slides, you've got your digital media. That could be your email campaigns, that could be social media, that could be e-commerce, that could be website traffic, things like that. Or you could have traditional media like TV ads, print ads, radio ads, things like that. And then being able to connect to any sort of CRM systems, any sort of ERP systems to track. So the one example I've taken in here is, let's say you're a retailer who's got an online presence as well as an in-store presence. I think the challenge sometimes happens is, if there were a couple of different personas who look at, somebody goes to the store, buys something, goes to the checkout line, buys that product, then goes online and maybe looks at something similar, has it shipped to store or has that product shipped to their home. Well, to be able to track that and to be able to say this is the same customer who we are tracking with, or this person prefers this kind of product to be delivered rather than needing to go to the store, or any combination thereof, or these were the products they were looking at in the website. When they go to the store, maybe in the mobile app, I want to be able to provide them some sort of a pop-up that says, hey, you looked at this online, this product is located in aisle number 2 or 3 or whatever. There's a price drop that we posted today, you looked at this last week, or some combination of that to say, hey, are you still interested?
So you're saying that, hey, I want to track that person's persona across these various interaction
Absolutely.
capabilities, right? So to your point, hey, I was on my computer looking at it last night. Now I'm in the store with my mobile app. I want for the store to know that I was looking at this last night, and now I'm in the store looking at it on my phone today.
Absolutely. So we can drive these customers to make a decision, right? Now, the solution itself, so Omnichannel Marketing Analytics, is not meant to replace any of the CRM or ERP platforms. Those are fantastic. As you know, Microsoft already has a whole range of that entire retail platform, if you will. This solution is supposed to sit on top of that to be able to analyze data across those sources. So the same example for, if you're looking at something on your phone or if you're looking at something on your computer and then you're in the store and you have your phone with you, sure, it means that you have to be able to know who this person is, but it makes the assumption that now that we know who this person is or any sort of history, then we can personalize offerings for them. Personalized offerings, personalized ads, targeted ads have been around for a while, so that's not new, but those have been restricted to a single platform. So typically, if you went to some website and looked at buying a particular product or stayed on the page for a while and maybe there was a price drop, and you'll get a personalized alert saying, hey, you looked at this product, the price dropped. But trying to look at it across all different channels is something we're trying to do. So to be able to do so, we have to be able to collect all the data, and that's what the solution does, right? So then we're able to provide a holistic 360-degree view of that customer. That's where we can drive better engagements. Again, this is more from a marketing standpoint to drive the mind share, to drive an interest for that customer or for that prospect or for the lead for that matter too, because there could be a big combination. And then from there, be able to influence this customer journey. That also ties in with our marketing budget. Obviously, there's a limited budget, so you want to make sure you spend money where it's needed most. And then that's based off of analytics. So like we talked about earlier, to be able to use data for making data-driven decisions, to be able to use AI and machine learning for forecasting, for predicting, for optimizing the spend, for figuring out where would we get the best result of the investments that we would make from a marketing standpoint. So in short version, we want to be able to focus on a 360-degree view of our customer, influence their journey, be able to use our marketing budget, figure out where it was spent and how we can spend it better, and do all of that with the help of data.
I know you guys are going to show the product. If I'm sitting back here looking at this is something I want to do, but it seems very hard. Like it's a big project. It's going to take a long time. Can you walk us through what it could be?
Sure. And it could seem like that, but it's not the case, right? With the solution, so what we are offering, this is a software as a service solution that's hosted on the Microsoft platform. And what we are offering is we've already done a lot of that legwork in the background to be able to analyze the data, to be able to make sense of some of it, to be able to tie all of these sources together. So I'll go back to one of our slides where you'll see there are connectors that we've already built to a bunch of these platforms. So we've done all of that work so that it doesn't seem so daunting, right? And as a customer, you can get onboarded. You can start using the solution in about 2 to 3 weeks, and you can start seeing your results right away.
Wow.
Right?
So I'm hearing you say, hey, we can start quick. 2 to 3 weeks, I can start gaining insights, grabbing value, and you can move me along, rapidly. This isn't one of those big ERP projects that's going to take 18 months before I see the first screen pop up on my desk. This is something that's can rapidly bring value to me as a marketing executive or director relatively quickly.
That is correct. And that's the beauty of a hosted solution, right? So we're able to spin up a solution for you as a customer very, very quickly, be able to tie to the data sources that you already have, right? So a lot of companies have a lot of information, say, around their orders, their invoices, things like that. We're able to tie those together very quickly to, say, social media, to any sort of marketing information. And that's where you'll see the buckets around APIs that were already developed and connectors that were already there to be able to make those connections quickly and get up and running in about that 2 to 3 week time frame. Now, you might choose to go one after the other. You might choose to use a certain bucket to start with, depending on what is getting you the most value. We're able to tie all those together in a very short time frame, though. So that's what we're offering up here. And so one of the examples we took was, if there was, say, a campaign that you're running inside of CRM, and then if you were running the same campaign and running any sort of posts, say through Facebook or through Instagram or somewhere else, we have the ability to then use our built-in connectors, use what we've already built and work that we've already done to bring in that information from CRM, from social media, from any of those sources, and be able to tie those together and say, this one campaign that we did for marketing produced these results across these individual channels. And then from there, we can start looking at more information around analyzing that data, what the performance looked like, what the results look like, what the return on investment looked like. I'll now jump into a demo so I can show you how easy it is to use the solution and get insights around different channels of marketing that you're using today. The solution uses Microsoft Power BI as a front end for displaying all the reports. You have the ability to display your analysis and the reports within Power BI, or you could embed these within any reporting solutions or platforms that you might already have. You could use the functionality from Power BI to embed these reports into solutions that you have. Just as a background for the demo, we'll start with 3 different areas that we'll analyze today. One of them is website analytics, the other one is Twitter analytics, and the third one is Facebook analytics. So we'll focus on these 3. You can use multiple other channels for analysis. For the purposes of our demo, we're just using these 3. What I have up on the screen is the analytics from the website. And if you're looking at any sort of a website traffic, then you would look at what kind of sessions, how many users were on the website, on what date and time, what kind of campaign were they looking at, or you can also look at what kind of AdWords did somebody look at, what were the impressions, over a period of time. So we're able to drill down into these individual metrics and look at what these insights give us from a website perspective. This is all good, and Depending on what solution you have for your website analytics, you might get some of these reports that are pre-built. However, there's not a guarantee that you'll be able to use the same kind of campaign and the same information across multiple channels. So we'll jump into the Twitter analysis here. And what you'll see is for a Twitter page and analyzing that page, we're looking at how many tweets happened, what was the reach of each of those tweets, how many followers, how many mentions, how many people retweeted, things like that. So we're able to look at that performance. We're also able to look at what the competition looks like and what that performance was for given tweets. So what the hashtags were, what was the sentiment, what was the media type, things like that. We'll switch over to Facebook. And if we start looking at what the Facebook post looked like, how many likes we got, how many people did not like the post, or how many people had a wow factor, or what was the engagement and what engaged most, depending on photos or videos or whatever the case may be. We can also look at ads inside of Facebook and how those performed based on cost per click, things like that. The biggest challenge then is some of these social media platforms do not provide all of this information in a single spot or the ability to tie them together to a marketing campaign. As a part of the omnichannel solution, we are now able to create this dashboard which brings data together from Facebook, from Twitter. So in this particular example, we've got Facebook, Twitter, and website analysis, and even data from any sort of demographic information that we might have from our customers. So you'll see you're able to look at what the total tweets were, what the total likes were on Facebook, what was the website traffic for those particular posts, what was the demographic, also what was the total sales. So we're tying in CRM information to Facebook and Twitter and website analysis. You'll also see that most of the interaction here was photos, and videos did not get as much traction as photos did. So for this particular campaign, maybe photos were better is a conclusion we can draw. We are also able to then drill down into the photos and see how much did photos influence versus how much did videos influence. And what's interesting is you'll see the tweets that were tied to the photos were very less compared to the total number of tweets. And you'll then start seeing the videos also generated a similar number, and then maybe the links generated a substantially large number of tweets that were created there. So that kind of also provides some insight into the kind of posts that you might want to focus on, given that one or the other channel might be getting saturated and you may not have any more media to increase in that particular channel. We can talk more about this as a follow-up conversation in terms of what the recommendations could be from our solution. We'll also look at a different version of the dashboard across the different channels. In here, we're looking at what the customer count was by country and by product and by campaigns. So we are able to see that when there was no campaign, all the way on the left, the sales were the highest. That also begs the question sometimes of, are we actually losing money by running sales campaigns, or are we performing better in one geography versus the other, depending on what campaigns we should run or what campaigns were run. And then relative to those ad campaigns, we are then able to see what was the reaction to different kinds of posts during the day, what kind of tweets or what kind of ad clicks we had. So we're able to tie those together as well. These are just two different variations of how we can bring all the data together that as a part of our omnichannel solution. We can definitely look at different questions that customers might have. Obviously, this is a platform that's extensible, so we're able to add more insights as needed based on individual needs. Thank you for joining us today. For more information, please feel free to reach out to us. And if you would like a detailed demonstration based on your data, we can arrange that as well. Thank you.